Hey guys, it's TJ again. For this speech, it was a persuasive speech, so I decided to do it on my own belief. As you can see on my visual display, it's is there a God or not? For years, there's been a lot of different beliefs out there across the country, throughout the nations. There's been arguments of is the Big Bang Theory or is there a God and stuff like that. So I pretty much decided I'd do some research and try to provide evidence on my own belief. First off, to think that the world just happened through a Big Bang is a pretty out there thought. I mean, human beings are very intelligent, and over the years, technology and everything else has advanced. So how would that exactly happen just out of nowhere? For example, the brain can capture about 1 million thoughts per second, and it disperses through each one and gets rid of the relatively unimportant ones. This allows us to be able to feel like all of our senses, stuff like that. Pretty much it allows us to have a sense of reason and further on. So if we just came out of nowhere, how would our brain, how would even that one part of our body be so complex and work so well? Another thought is just if you look around life every day. I mean, every day we have gravity that doesn't change. The speed of light hasn't changed. There's just a lot of different elements of nature that has remained constant since the beginning. I mean, if the Earth was to shift either way a little bit too much, we'd freeze to death or we'd burn. Stuff like that. I mean, that doesn't just form perfectly for years and not ever change. I mean, it's amazing our existence alone. For stuff like that, I mean, the sense of evolution, there has been... I'm not knocking the idea of animals that have evolved. I mean, there's been fish that have been bred in dark caves and then they're born without eyes because they don't need them. So there is a type of evolution between species, but not I don't believe the idea that we just formed from nothing or that we came from monkeys. I mean, if we came from monkeys, how come from the thousands of years that's happened, how come we can't just catch one and eventually that one turn into a human? I mean, monkeys aren't still changing, so what would have stopped that? As I go throughout this video, I mean, I want to explain, I don't want anyone to take it as a personal, like I'm knocking their idea or anything like that. Everyone has their own belief and their own foundation, so I'm not here to judge or disperse that. I'm just, once again, like I said, I'm just giving proof of my belief. I have written down on a notebook some scriptures because back in the past, whenever the Bible was written, there's been prophecies that have been coming true to our current day events. For example, in Psalm 83 in the Bible, it talks about how the name of Israel will be no more and that they will be wiped out. Like I said, as we all know, the Bible was written years and years ago. So Israel has been a very firm alliance. They haven't had any problems. But in current time right now, like it was said, they're actually going through a major war. President Ahmadinejad, the Iranian president, I hope I pronounced that right, he said in his speech recently that they will wipe out Israel and that Israel will be no more a nation. So that alone is something that was prophesied years and years ago, and now it's actually happening. Another thing throughout the Bible was that there'd be a lot of wars in the Mideast and stuff like that. I mean, we went to war with Iraq, all kinds of different places that have just been prophecies coming true. In Matthew 24, the Bible talks about, someone had asked, how will we know when Jesus is coming back? And one of the beginning signs was that there'd be a lot of different turmoil throughout the world. I mean, different disastrous events. And I'm not saying Jesus is coming back right now or anything like that, but as it says in Matthew 24, there's been a lot of events such as different wars that have been taking place, earthquakes. We experienced a lot of hurricanes over the past few years, just a lot of stuff that has been coming true from what the Bible said would happen. Also, in Isaiah 66, verse 8, it asks if a nation can be made in one day. I mean, we know different nations across the world, how powerful they are and stuff, but can they be made in one day? And on May 14th, 1948, Israel actually became a nation in just that first day. One day, they came together and they made them a nation. Some of this is just proof of, I did some research and just was able to find how I can try to back up my own belief. And like I said, everyone has their own belief. I'm not here to knock that down at all. I mean, everyone's entitled to that. But it's hard for me to comprehend how like a civilization that is so smart and that has come so far could just come from nothing. I mean, where did it start? There has to be a superior being. There has to be a God that was able to make everything work perfect to get everything made how it needed to be made. Like I said, for us to be able to wake up every day and have the confidence that we can go outside and that we're not going to freeze, we're not going to burn, we're not going to like get sucked up. I mean, it's just an amazing concept that someone, a higher being than us, had to have been put together. I mean, whenever scientists are asked, okay, well, you believe the Big Bang Theory, where did that big explosion come from? They can't say where it comes from. They don't know. They don't have belief in it. They just say it happened. And for people that like scientific proof, there is a lot of scientific proof of evolution over the years. I mean, we have weather, stuff like that does change and that does fit into the category of evolution. But where does that opening start and where does it end? Like I said, to think we came from monkeys, that's very far-fetched. Yes, they have a lot of different similarities to us. They're the closest animal to us, but that's not a concept I can grasp onto. I mean, that's not something that someone so knowledgeable can really believe in. As I grew up, I mean, I grew up in church and stuff like that, and there's definitely times where I heard a story in the Bible that there was doubt. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like Jonah got swallowed by a big whale and he got spit up days later perfectly fine. That's very far-fetched. But I think that just goes to show the power of God and what can happen. I mean, you have a 100-foot whale, blue whale, which is currently in the sea, and that's the biggest animal on Earth. And all it eats is microscopic brine shrimp and stuff like that. I mean, it's just amazing the things that have been created that work together with the system, that it doesn't just happen. As far as physical proof goes, over here on the paperwork I have a picture of the ark that was found. They believe they found Noah's Ark. There's just a lot of evidence in different places. They believe they found Jesus' tombstone. So there is actual physical evidence that you can see. A lot of people don't want to believe there's a God because they think, well, where's the proof? Where's the actual proof that I can see it? And that's, first of all, whenever you believe in your religion, a lot of it's about faith. But for people that they can't believe what they can't see, there is stuff that you can actually see. I mean, if you go over to Israel, Jerusalem, you can walk the places that were talked about in the Bible years and years ago, and they're still currently there. So there's a lot of actual physical proof that you can see for your own eyes. I mean, for those of you that are watching this and have been torn one or both ways, or even if you, I mean, this is for a class, so I mean, some of you may be watching it because you have no choice and you don't really care. But before you make such a big decision, I would just recommend, and I'd hope that you would look further into it, like actually do the research so you can see what you're believing in. So whenever you're questioned, you can back up either one. Whether it's evolution, you can back up how evolution happened, or whether it's Christianity, so you can back up your belief. There's just so much evidence throughout the world that was talked about years and years and years ago in the Bible that is still happening. And if you read the book of Revelation and stuff like that, just glimpse through it, you'll actually see a lot of stuff that's happening current day that was talked about years and years before. I mean, there's no way they would have known that was going to happen. So what is that? And another thing I think that people don't really want to believe in God or choose to follow him is because a lot of them have seen the bad picture of church and stuff like that. Like a lot of people, there are churches, unfortunately, where you go in and you get judged and stuff like that. So it makes people uncomfortable. They think, well, if there's a God, why would he treat me like this? Why would his followers be like this? I'm a better person than these Christians are. And sadly, that is the case sometimes, but that's not what Christianity is about. Jesus came for everyone. He died on the cross to save everyone, anyone that chooses to follow him. So there's been so many convictions of people that had been on drugs for years and years, and they came off and they came to know God. And it's amazing to look at those stories and realize what he really can do in your life. As far as my life goes, there's been quite a few different times where I was able to see for myself that God did exist. For example, whenever I was 5, I got sick with something, and they said it was an unclassified disease. And I've always been really skinny, But back then I was extremely skinny. I mean, I was about to die. They couldn't figure out how to treat it. I couldn't go to school anymore. I was pretty much a grown kid because it went through on years and years, and I was getting pushed in a stroller and stuff because I was too weak to walk. And they said if it didn't stop, pretty much I'd die. And a lot of churches came together, my family, they prayed over me and stuff like that, and here I am years later, and healthy as can be. And like I said, the doctors didn't give me anything to get me better because they said we can't figure out what is wrong with this kid. And if they said that sooner or later I would end up dying because of malnourishment and stuff like that. Also, for the friends that know me, I wrecked my truck whenever I was 17 with a friend, and it was stupidity on my part. I was going 100 miles an hour pretty much, and it flipped and it burned. Neither of us were wearing a seatbelt. I walked out with just a scratch on me. Literally, I got up, walked out with just a tiny cut on my knee. I mean, I feel that I've been protected throughout numerous different circumstances, and yes, stuff just happens sometimes. But I mean, stuff like that, I mean, I feel like I'm here for a reason, as well as everyone else watching this video. I mean, it's just a it's a great feeling, and to be able to put your faith in something higher and not have to live your life in fear or worry, because without any foundation, whenever something goes wrong in our day-to-day lives, which it will, what are we going to have hope in? What is there to believe in? I mean, we're just left on our own to fend for ourselves, and what happens after we die? Is that just the end of it? So, like I said, this video has to be between 5 to 7 minutes, and I just moved to Gainesville, so I don't have anyone to tell me where I'm at, so I'm probably going to have to wrap it up. I hope that it provided you guys with some knowledge. I hope that, like I said, before you choose one belief or another belief, that you'll be able to look further into it, that you will actually take the time to just see pretty much what foundation you believe in. I appreciate everyone taking the time to watch this, and I hope everyone has a good week. Thank you very much.